Hi, I'm Diane Hall with AARP Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you to our fourth Strength and Balance Conditioning class, part of AARP Missouri's Moving It Fitness Series. Can you believe that we are halfway through this 8-week class? Now, if this is your first time joining us for Strength and Balance Conditioning, don't worry. Tyler, our instructor, will explain as we go along, and you'll easily be able to participate. The class is suitable for many levels of fitness. However, you know your own limitations. Please do not try to go beyond what you know is right for you. If you have any concerns, check with your doctor before participating in this or any other AARP fitness offering. AARP Missouri also offers another live fitness class called Forever Fit, and we have links to past programs like Tai Chi and Zumba and Movement for Life that you can participate in from the recordings. You can find those links at aarp.org/movingit. All of our programming is created with people 50 plus in mind, but it's good for anyone of any age, anywhere. To learn more about the opportunities, you can go to aarp.org/movingit. Now, AARP realizes that our fitness series like Strength and Balance Conditioning can be great options for anyone who may not be able or who may be hesitant to attend a traditional fitness class, like a caregiver or someone sidelined by the pandemic or other health reasons. In addition to the fitness classes, AARP has resources for caregivers, up-to-date COVID-19 information, and technology information on our website. Just go to aarp.org/nearyou. Now, if this is your first time with an AARP fitness class, we're trying out the webinar format for this class. And at the end of this series, I'm going to ask everybody, would you prefer this or a meeting? So please know that you are already muted and your cameras are turned off. You can use the chat to let us know how you're doing or ask questions or make comments. Many of you understood the comments thing because you made a lot of comments already. Also, if you want to stick around a few minutes after class is over, Tyler will answer your questions about the exercises or maybe specific modifications that you might need. So let's get started with Strength and Balance Conditioning. Our instructor, again, is Tyler Ferguson. Take it away, Tyler.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning, everybody. Nice to have you back on week number 4. Last week, we learned a new workout, and we're going to do the same workout as last week. We're just going to lengthen the timing protocols on the workout. So if you've taken your heart rate numbers last week, you can compare how you fare this week with longer work time and perhaps less recovery time. Before we get started, let's work on our trifecta of core activation. Bring your feet into hip distance apart, mountain pose, and rock back and forth, opening up the bottom of your feet, working the fascia, allowing the feet to open up and melt into the ground so you get more surface area of your feet into the ground. Come to stillness and standing and start to find activation in the lower legs. You might do that by finding that external rotation in the hips, slight bend of the knees. Feel your glutes turn on. Draw your navel to the spine. That's the second layer of your activation, bringing in the midline. And then the last layer, shoulders come up and down and packed. So feeling the lats turn on. So the 3 sections of the core, shoulders, all of the deep inner muscles of the core, and then the glutes. And then release and let it go. Lift all 10 toes, separate, spread them out nice and wide. Place the toes back down on the mat, and then bring your right heel up into a foot fold and lower it down. Keep doing that just a few times. If you want to keep your core a little bit more active while you work on your foot fold, you can bring your hands to prayer, draw your navel to your spine, and pack your shoulders. And you can be more active in the core as you do this work. The reason we're working on and warming up this foot fold now is we're going to use this heel over the toe in our high crescent lunge segment for today. Pause here and find it on the other side. Left heel lifts and lowers. You're looking for alignment. The knee is tracking over the toes. You're looking to lift the heel as high as it wants to go, working on your ankle mobility and ankle strength. You might feel your calf muscle worked here. I hear you, Marilyn, I got it. I'll tell you in a hot second. So a couple more reps right here, and then come to stillness. So great question in the chat, I love it. What does packed mean? Well, if you bring your shoulders up to your ears, your scapula are elevating. And if you bring your shoulders down away from your ears, your scapula, these shoulder blades, they are depressing or moving away. And when they are in their packed position, so depressed, down, packed, that's when you can begin to activate. Hello, Mike. Do we still have a mic here? That's when you can, there we are. That's when you can begin to activate your lat muscles, which is a huge player in your core. Do this with me. We did it last week. Have your fake bar. And now bend your bar like it's really tough metal and you bent it into a horseshoe shape. That's another way of bringing your shoulders down and feeling your lats turn on. So hopefully that worked out for you. Thank you for asking. Continuing on with our footwork, we lift and lowered the heels. This time, lift the toes, even the ball of the foot up, and then march back and forth. So we're just going to work the front of the shin or the anterior tibialis muscle. So you might feel this muscle is the one that if you put on ice skates or roller skates and you hadn't done it in a year or 10 years, that's the muscle that gets sore right away. So doing these little marches, working the front side to match the work that we did on the back side with the heel lifts, and then come to stillness. Let's move up the body and move into the hips. Hands go into the hips. Drop the hips back 45 degrees. So not directly over to the side, but kind of back 45 degrees. Notice that both knees bend when I do this. I'm just getting into the hip stabilizing muscles or the IT band. Bring your hips forward, squeeze the glutes, open up the front of the hips here. Inhale, exhale, take your hips over to the other side. These are called hip roots, just a little way to warm up the hips. Bring the hips forward, squeeze the glutes, and exhale over to the left. Inhale forward, squeeze, and over to the right. One more time, inhale forward, squeeze, over to the left, pause, stay in the left here. Now swish your tail across the back of the room and come over to the right. And then swish your tail across the back of the room, come over to the left, and squeeze the glutes forward. With the hands still on the stiff hips, start to move your tail into a tucked position. So notice, if I had a tail, I'm going to tuck my tail down to my heels, and you'll notice that your pelvis will tilt toward the back. And then when you do that, feel how the glutes turn on and the belly has to draw back to the spine to get your tuck, and then release, tip your pelvis forward. So if you had headlights on your pelvis, the headlights are going to shine down, and then the headlights are going to shine up. So just moving from these two positions. When we do our core work today, I'm going to ask you to tuck your tail, draw your navel to the spine. So I want you to feel this movement and this orientation when I refer to it today. Great. Let's move up the spine and move into the thoracic spine or the rib cage area. Actually, we're going to work on the shoulder blades. Bring your hands to a point, your fingers to a point. Shoot the fingers forward. Round your upper back and feel the shoulder blades. Make sure the shoulders are packed, so down away from the ears, but feel them separate from the midline of the body. Eye gaze is at the thumbs, rounding the back body to the back of the room. And then separate the hands, open the arms, keep tension from the fingertips all the way into the chest. Feel the shoulder blades come together as your heart lifts here. The tail stays or the pelvis stays in neutral. Exhale, shoot and round your back to the back of the room. Feel the shoulder blades move away from each other like there's space in between them and they're moving laterally to the sides of the body. Eye gaze is at the thumbs. Separate the hands, lift the eye gaze to where the ceiling meets the wall. Full fascial tension, straighten out through the arms. Notice if you feel a stretch in your pec or in your chest. Last time, exhale, shoot around. Back your shoulders. Inhale, exhale, open up your chest. And bring your hands back into prayer. Let's move up the shoulders. Punch your, make fists. Punch your wrists forward. And then elevate and depress your right scapula. Elevate and depress your left scapula. Elevate and depress right and left. This is called chasing shoulders. So each time you lift and elevate the shoulder, you might be experiencing shoulder pack, one shoulder at a time in the arms. All right, so we're mobilizing the scapula on the spine. We got it to move laterally. We got the scapula to move away and together. Now the scapula moving up and down. Bring your arms out to the sides and notice how my thumbs are in this neutral orientation. That's a continuation of my arm. I'm going to elevate my right shoulder, and depress it. So feel it elevate and depress in this orientation. And then next time, elevate the right arm, internally rotate, look over the opposite arm, and unpack it. Try it on the other side. Left shoulder, elevate and depress. Elevate and depress. Elevate and depress. Now, elevate, internally rotate, and look over the opposite arm. You might feel this stretch all in your neck when you take your rotation of your neck and your eye gaze over your opposite arm, unscrew, and come out of it. Those are called shoulder screws. One more thing for our spine, bring your arms up overhead if that's safe in the shoulders. Take a bind right at the elbows here. Pull the shoulders up into the ears, so you're lifting your rib cage up out of your pelvic bowl, and take a side bend. Notice the length that you create in your side body here. Push through that left leg. Inhale, exhale, come back up to center. Lift and lengthen up out of the side body, moving laterally over to the other side, putting our spine into this lateral flexion. And then bring yourself back to center. Arms come back down to the sides. Okay, hopefully that's enough warm up for you guys. We're going to review last week's workout. We did 6 exercises last week, so we added another one. We always start our week with a squat exercise. We are visiting the Sumo Squat, so bring your legs wider than your hips so that if your arms went out to your side, your feet could move past your elbows almost. And bring your arms back down. Bring your heels in and your toes out. So your feet are at about a 45-degree angle. Bring your hands to prayer right in front of your chest. And you're going to lower your seat down to the floor as you bend your knees. And then press through your heels, stand up. When you stand up, squeeze your glutes. Make a muscle connection between the glutes and your heels. Inhale, lower down, bend the knees, tracking over the toes. Exhale, push through the heels and squeeze at the top. Continue doing this with me and make a mind-muscle connection in that posterior chain. So feeling the connection between the heels all the way back up the legs to the glutes. Now take a look at the screen here. A common misalignment in this exercise is to pitch the trunk forward when you come down. So pretend like your back is against a wall or you're on a carousel horse. You want to keep your shoulders over your hips in the lowering down phase and in the moving up phase. So try not to pitch at the trunk at all. So that's going to require bringing your navel to your spine, squeezing the glutes. And then another common misalignment is for the knees to collapse to the inside. So notice I'm on the inside edges of my feet. My knees are collapsing in. So I'm going to pull my knees out to my piggy toes, keep pulling my knees to my piggies. All right, that's exercise number 1. So hopefully you got about 10 or so reps in there. You can see if that exercise works for you. We can also add a weight. I will cue this when we get to our timed rounds. You can hold the weight at your chest here, and then just press the weight away as you lower down, bring the weight in as you come up. That's a way to elevate the exercise and make it a tiny bit more challenging. Notice when you press the weight away what that does to your spine, and make sure that you are staying connected so it's not hurting the spine. Shoulder matrix is our next exercise. If you have some light weights, 1, 2, 3 pounds, you can use them. Holding them in a hammer grip. Cans of beans will work, water bottles will work, whatever you've used to make work, it'll do. Bring the weights up into your into this position where the weight is touching the shoulders. This is our starting position. Corkscrew the hips or squeeze the glutes, find that external rotation in the hips, slight bend in the knees, and then punch the knuckles straight up overhead and bring it back down. One arm at a time. Punch the knuckles up. So don't bend the knees, don't bend the knees, just notice my knuckles are right up over my head. Then you're going to come across your body. Notice the top of my wrist is up and my hand is level with my shoulder and back. Come across your body and back. And then finally out to a Y and back and out to a Y. Notice my wrist and palm are up and back. Let's do that one more time. Punch the knuckles up, bring it down, punch the knuckles up. Now, if you're crushing the ground in between you, turning on your glutes, drawing your navel to spine. Remember last week we talked about how this work isn't just in the shoulders. You can make this a full body workout by your awareness and your activation. Also, if you have a shoulder injury and you can't go above your head, remember, put it in the chat and I'll remind you about what we did in Stories class 2 weeks ago with no weights. Exercise number 3 is our core. So we go from our squat to our shoulders, then to our core. I'm going to encourage you to sit down in your chair, and the distance that your hips take from the back of the chair is your journey. What we're trying to do, lengthen the tail down to the heels. So remember we worked on that? So you're going to take your hip tail down to the heels, draw the navel to the spine, and then sit up off the chair. So you're using your core, you're not touching here. So level 1 is just working on sitting up and holding, drawing navel to the spine, engaging core to sit up here. If you want to make the work harder, scoot away more, navel to spine, lengthen tail, come up and hold. Level 2, put your hands on the chairs, bring your toes down, lift the heels, and then start to take some marches. So I'm not leaning against the chair. I'm using my core to find this. It's like a boat pose position. If you've done boat pose in a yoga class, and I'm finding these taps. If you find this is too hard, but you really want to explore it, make the lever shorter. If it's not hard enough, make the lever longer. Level 3 option is to not hold on to the chair and to hold your arms straight out in front. If you notice that you're feeling pain in the low back, you need to regress the exercise and either not hinge forward as much or take a break and then come back up into the exercise again. So that's our core exercise, exercise number 3. We're going to move into a lower leg exercise again, but we're going to be in a split stance this time. That's that high crescent lunge. Take your feet pretty wide, almost as wide as your mat if you have one, and step one foot. Let's go with the right foot back. So I want you to notice in this orientation, my hips, shoulders, knees, toes, everything is facing forward to the back of the chair, including my back foot. I'm not dropped down like a warrior. I'm peeling my heel up, squeezing that glute to support that, and working on my ankle strength here. So that's why we did these little ankle lifts in the warm-up. So level 1, draw your navel to the spine, bring your shoulder over your hips, and then you're going to bend your back knee and then straighten it out. So notice I'm trying to put the work in my back leg. I'm trying to use the engine for this work is my glute. That's a big muscle, and I'm trying to use that rather than putting the work in this front knee joint. After 45 seconds, you're going to step forward, step the opposite leg back. Notice when I step back, I'm in train tracks. I'm in railroad tracks. I'm not on a tight rope. So that's going to be harder if your feet are closer together. So step wide, and then you're just bending the back knee. As you're doing this work, you're squeezing the glute, you're drawing your navel to the spine, and you're trying to keep your shoulders over your hips. So if you have some core weakness, you'll notice that you're hinging here and you're beginning to put all the work forward. So engaging the trunk. And then the back foot will step forward. Next exercise is when we come to our wall push-ups. So if you have a wall, I'll demonstrate on the wall first. What I'd like for you to do this week is consider lifting the heels and then working on your push-ups into the wall. Now, we did that little exercise in the beginning of class to find the shoulder pad. So let's revisit it here. Take your metal bar, pretend like you're on stage, acting for the world, bend it like it's the strongest bar in the world. Feel your lats turn on, take that right to the wall, lift the heels, and then you can lower in and find some push-ups against the wall. You'll notice you'll feel these push-ups in your triceps. You have an option if you have a chair to go right to your chair. Common misalignment. 1, make sure your chair doesn't slide. 2, if you're going to do these push-ups in your chair, bring your shoulders over your wrists. I don't want you to be back behind the chair here. Bring the shoulders over the wrists, come up on your toe, and then you can just lower down just a couple of inches and back up. You can lower and hold for as long as you want. In this 90 seconds, you could do 1 push-up or you can do 10. It's totally up to you. To exit, step forward and forward, stand up nice and tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess I got them all. All right, guys, you feeling good about this? Let's start the timer. Let's start the clock. Sumo squats. What do I do with my phone? Where's my timer? Oh, it's right here. Sumo squats is our first exercise. We're going to work for 90 seconds. So take your feet wide, turn your toes out, draw your navel to your spine, draw your glutes in. 90 seconds of work. Let's make sure this isn't too loud. It was loud. And lower down. Press up and squeeze. So option level 1, just bringing your hands to prayer, really working on thinking about keeping your shoulders stacked over your hips and sliding your back down along a wall, putting your mind into your posterior chain. It's just a fancy way of saying putting your mind into the back part of your body. We're often quad dominant and dominant in the front side of our body. So we want to feel and work in the back. This is where we notice when we press up, feel the connection between the heels and the glutes. Squeeze the glutes and the inner thighs at top to help you awaken and recognize the backside of your body. We're halfway there. 90 seconds of work is, well, it's 30 seconds more than 60, which was last week. Move at a pace that suits you. If you want to move a little bit more slow, do. If you need to maintain good alignment and safe movement, move more slowly. If you want to move faster than me, let me just encourage you to notice sometimes moving fast is an avoidance to feel. It's an ability, it's a way to use momentum to pass through your weaker areas. So notice if you're just crushing and moving really fast in this exercise, are you really feeling these energetic cues that I'm asking you to feel? There's the countdown and pause. Toe, heel, feet together. Take a long inhale in. Pause at the top and exhale. Bounce. Go and find your weights if you're using weights for your shoulder matrix. Come to your standing or your mountain pose. Find some activation in the hips, slight bend in the knees. Maybe you're crushing the mat together. And bring your weights to your start position. And here we go. Pressing up overhead. So it's right arm, left arm. There's 3 movements: cross body right arm, cross body left arm, and then out to a Y right arm, and out to a Y left arm. And then right back to overhead press and overhead press. So again, stay connected. See if you can make this shoulder matrix, is what this little series is called. See if you can make this a full body workout. Can you draw your navel to your spine? Can you turn on your glutes? Can you crush the mat together? Maybe tear the mat apart. Find some kind of activation so that the legs are super, super involved. If you're finding that activation in the legs, can you relax your toes? So notice, even though my glutes are super turned on, even though I'm crushing the mat together, I'm super relaxed in my toes. So that ability to differentiate through the body, turning on certain muscles and activating, but not going through muscles. Oops, I made a mistake. Maybe you noticed. Just keep going. If you've got the Zen, if you've got it going, don't let my mess up mess you up. Again, moving slowly and mindfully. There's the countdown, 2 and 1. And bring your weights down. Do that in an intelligent way on your spine. We have a long 30-second rest here. Inhale in. Pause at the top. And exhale. Bounce it out. Chair taps is our next exercise. By the way, we're going to take our heart rate at the end of this round. And then the next round, we'll only have 20 seconds of rest. Set yourself up. There's our countdown. Lengthen the tail. Draw the navel in. Find your area that you want to work, and then begin working. So we talked about different levels of this exercise. Level 1 was just to work on this core engagement, drawing navel to spine, hollowing out the body as you tuck the tail down. Level 2, we're just lifting and lowering the legs. And if you're choosing that level, notice how moving and powering the legs is such a core activity. So put your muscle or put your mind in that muscle and that connection. Level 3 is not using the hands to stabilize the trunk at all. Some other options that we have are to shorten the lever. So that just means you're lifting and lowering less weight, there's less leverage, or you're lengthening the lever. So find the exercise that brings you the most benefit. If you start to feel pain or fatigue in the low back, rest or change it up. Bring your seat a little bit closer back, but when you move up into your exercise, re-engage, belly button to spine, long through tail. 90 seconds of work this week, 30 seconds of rest, same circuit, more work. That's what we're looking for next week. She'll change it up, 6 new exercises. But for now, think about how it's working your core. 10 seconds left here. If you've been marching and you just need to wait and hold for these last 10 seconds, that's fine. 3, 2, and 1. Come to standing, nice and tall. We'll spin the chair around and work on our high crescent lunges here. Take your feet nice and wide. Step your right foot back and find that orientation, shoulders, hips, knees, toes, everything is forward. And you might have to scooch to get a little bit closer to the chair. 5 seconds until we begin. Turn on this rear glute. Try to lift the heel. And then can you bend the knee and open up, back leg. That's where we're trying to put the work in this back leg. Notice my heel is staying pretty lifted the whole time. And that heel lift is helping me access this knee bend. And my front leg, I'm using my front leg for balance, but I'm really focusing this exercise. The chair is here to help you keep the trunk up, but I'm really trying to activate this rear glute to initiate the lowering phase with my posterior chain, common theme, knee bend. All right, let's pause here. Step the back foot forward, step the other foot back. Only 45 seconds of work because we're switching legs. Take a moment to set yourself up, squeeze the glute, shoulders over hips, and then you can begin working on the backside. This exercise can be confusing because you're like, well, wait a minute, what knee am I bending? Because my front knee is bending too. So think about it here. Yeah, my front knee is bending a little bit, but I'm not driving this exercise in my front at all. My mind is in my back leg, and I'm driving this exercise in my back leg. I'm working on ankle and foot strength because I'm trying to keep my heel lifted and elevated the whole time. So that in itself is a challenge. So that might be exactly where you are, just being stationary, or you can choose to take these knee dips. That's the timer. Step your back foot forward. And let's recover, practice our recovery breath. It's a long inhale in with a pause at the top. That stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, that puts your body in rest and digest. And then when you exhale, you're just gonna bounce and release all the residual tension from that last exercise. Let's come over to the wall for our wall push-ups. Pack the shoulders, engage the lats, lift the toes here, and you're gonna press away and lower to the wall. Draw your navel to your spine here and make sure that your whole body is lowering to the wall. A common misalignment in this one is to lead with the hips and get this sway in the back. We don't want that. So tuck your tail down to your heels, draw your navel to the spine, and feel how that helps you turn on your whole front line, your whole core. Keep tucking your tail down to your heels, drawing your navel to the spine, and put the work in your lats. Notice if your ears want to travel up your shoulders. We don't want that. You might really feel this in your triceps. You can also just hold. All right, we're at the halfway point. So maybe just to hold, and then maybe you're like, okay, I got one, and then I'm just gonna hold. And then you'll notice that I don't have my hands fully pushed away here. I have them a little bit lower because I'm doing more of a yoga or chaturanga push-up, and I'm trying to stay more in my triceps and less in my chest. Spread your fingers out wide on the wall, grip and press your fingers into the wall. I'm looking at my timer. This is long, isn't it? Whew. Yeah, this is a killer. 90 seconds of a wall hold. I got my heels lifted here. 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! I'm gonna feel that tomorrow. Step forward, come out of that. Take an inhale in. Pause. And then, good, release. One more time, inhale in, pause, and exhale, release. Okay, guys, find your pulse. We're gonna take your time really quickly here. Find your pulse and start counting now. And stop. All right, so there's your 15-second count. Whatever number you came up with, you're gonna multiply that number by 4, and then that's the number that you use for your calculation for your heart rate in this round, that calculation that Diane sent out to you. All right, feeling good? Let's do this. Round number 2, we're gonna change it ever so slightly. Round number 2, you only get 20 seconds of rest. So last work in between the exercises. Let me find this timer on my clock. Nope, that's not it. My apologies, 90, there we go. Okay guys, sumo squat, legs turn out, feet are at a 45-degree angle, draw the navel to the spine, shoulders over the hips, grabbing a weight if you want to take it forward, let's go. If you're using a weight, you're gonna punch it out on the way down, pull it in on the way up. Even a light weight will do. Notice if you have a really heavy weight, your spine's a little vulnerable in that position with the arms extended, so make a good choice here. There's so much work that we can do in these exercises. Push the ground apart as you lower down, or pull your feet together as you lower down. So pull the heels together, feel how that really makes the exercise work. And then you can push your feet away from each other as you come up to standing. So there are a lot of different ways to activate muscle groups in this exercise. Just keeping the knees tracking out over the toes or pulled towards the pinky toes more. Syncing your breath with your movement. It's a huge part of your work. Maybe you inhale on your lowering phase, exhale through the mouth on your work phase. Maybe you exhale on both phases. Neither is right or wrong. You just need to pick your breathing pattern and sync it with your work. Pause. Toe heel the feet together. We only have 20 seconds of rest. Place your weight down in a spine intelligent way. Long inhale in. Pause. Exhale. Shake it out. Find your weights. Let's prepare for our shoulder matrix. Active stance and mountain pose. Bring your shoulders or weights to your shoulders, and we'll begin the matrix. 90 seconds of work here. So first we'll just pattern the movements. 3 total exercises, or 3 movements, 1 performed by each arm. Back up to overhead press. We're going to come to a crossbody. Back of the hand is up, palm is down. Hand is even with shoulder. And then moving into our Y position with the palms up. Once you begin to get comfortable there, can you bring your awareness into drawing the navel to the spine, finding some activation in the glutes, and recruiting and turning on the whole lower leg. When you bring your weight back into your start position, can you find your shoulders in pack, and can find your lats turned on in that pack position. And then go back and revisit navel to spine. Travel down to the glutes. Are they engaged? Are your legs fully engaged? Can you relax your toes? I'm talking and I'm losing track of where we are in the movement. Notice if you have a tendency to move really fast. See if you can break that down and notice why. Sometimes when we move super fast, we're moving past areas of disconnection or weakness. Good. There's our timer. Place your weights down in a spine intelligent way and come up to standing. Take a long inhale in. Exhale. And release the residual tension. Let's move to our chair. there goes the timer. It is time for our chair. Lengthen the tail down to the heels, draw the belly in, find your hip hinge area, and begin to find the work that you want to find. So what's really important is this particular exercise that I've set up for you, it can sort of trigger your hip flexors, right? So like if your core is turned off right now, you can do this exact exercise just by using your hip flexors. So can you draw the navel into the spine, lengthen the tail down to the heels, and try to put this work in the core, and notice how it takes the core to lift the legs. So can you feel more connection between this relationship of engaging these core muscles and the leg lift? And you might notice I'm taking a little hip hinge forward each time I lift the leg. That might help you find that connection. Remember, if you have pain in the low back, I want you to take a rest. Also, if you're not facing the screen and you're all cockeyed with your neck like I am, try to keep a neutral spine or a neutral orientation in this exercise. If the hip flexors feel like they're sore, just pause. Just work on just bringing the trunk forward and having this static hold. Go back to the belly button, draw the navel to the spine, lift and lengthen the crown of the head, and place your self back. We're done with that exercise. Come into standing. We're going to have to walk right over to our wall push-ups. Engage the lats, bring the hands on the wall, step back, lift the heels, send the tail down, draw the navel to the spine, 90 seconds of these. So a couple things to look for here. I'm going to do it on the chair today. Shoulders are out of the ears and elbows are mostly in. If you're on the chair, your shoulders are over your fingertips even would be ideal. Ideally, if you were doing this on the ground, no, it's not the best time to look, but my elbows are pretty stacked over my hands. If you're choosing the chair option for today, your wrists might be getting a little bit sore, so you could switch to the wall, or you could press your fingertips down and find more grip. 90 seconds, it's a lot, right? So maybe just lower and hold, and then re-engage. Lengthen the tail to the heels, draw the navel to the spine, shoulders away from the ears, put the work in the lats. Holding in your plank, maybe lowering and pressing up, or maybe moving to the wall. We have 30 seconds left in this. Decide what you want to do. If you're done, just come out of it. It's okay. This is a lot for me today. 90 seconds is a lot more than the 60 last week. So we're just going to work through it. 15 more seconds. Lengthen the tail, navel to the spine, 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push your hips back. Woo. If you're in the wall, push your hips back. In your chair, push your hips back. Lengthen through the arms. So take them out of that flexed position and put them in a lengthened position. Then walk forward. Come to standing, long inhale in. Pause. Exhale. And let's find your heart rate or find your pulse. Now I'll turn on the timer for you. You can take your heart rate. You can just see if there's a difference between this round and the previous round where we had a little bit less time. Start counting now. And stop. All right, there's your 15-second count. So you can see if your numbers are similar or quite a bit different. The other opportunity that you had there is to work harder or less hard based on your results from the first inquiry. I'm looking at my chart and I'm realizing I forgot. I kept saying we had 6 exercises and then I kept doing 5. Remember last week I got a little confused last week, but I'm just figuring out the exercise, the single leg balance exercise that I missed, but we're going to work it into next week's workout. Let's work on a little decompensation here. Circle sweep the arms up, Take a bind at the elbows, reach over to one side. Come back up to the center, squeeze the glutes, let the hips drift forward a little bit, and come over to the other side. Come back up to center. Take your hands on your hips, or actually bring your hands to prayer. Send your hips back. Take a bend at the knees. Eye gaze is down to the floor now. And then if your knees are slightly bent, just straighten out one leg. Like so, my right leg is straight, my left knee stays bent. Then I'm going to bend my right knee, straighten out my left leg. So just working, if you have a chair and you want to use your chair, put your hands in your chair, you can do that. So just straightening out opposite legs. Hands can be at prayer, that'll help you turn on your core. And then to exit out of this, bring your knees back to even, place your hands on the hip, put the weight in your heels, and hinge back up to standing. If you've got your chair handy, let's come and take a seat in our chair. Bring your right knee into your chest. Sit up nice and tall as you hug your knee into your chest. And then extend that leg long, holding underneath the hamstring. Flex the toes back, push through the heel. And then bend the knee in one more time. Place it across the top of your opposite leg. If that mobility isn't there for you, just straighten out your bottom leg and let the top leg slide down. Otherwise, with your leg across the top, flex your ankles, draw your toes back, don't spin in the chair, I'm just going to show you, and then hinge forward. So hopefully in this stretch, you're feeling that in the glute of the knee that's bent in front. Take a couple conscious deep breaths here. So try to breathe and inhale all the way past through the lungs down into that hip. And press yourself back up. Let's find that on the other side. So the left knee comes into the chest, sit up nice and tall. And then extend the left leg, flex the ankles so the toes come back to the shin, push through the heel, lift and lengthen through the spine. Bend the knee one more time. This is my injured hip, so I'm going to take it easy here. Flex the toes back, or flex the ankles so the toes move back to the shin. Sit nice and tall, and then hinge down. Your back is flat. Drawing a little sensation and stretch into the hips, so notice. And then just notice if you have to tuck or sassy your tail. Notice how that can change the stretch. And then press through the bottom foot, come back up to seated, and the left foot comes back down to the ground. Come back up to standing, circle sweep the arms up, reach overhead. And I'll meet you right here with hands at prayer. It's a pleasure and an honor to share this practice with you. Thank you for joining me today for Balance and Strength Conditioning.